Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. Over the last 70 years, the usage of coal, oil, and natural gas around the world has skyrocketed, while wind and solar have made almost no progress. Over the past 20 years, the usage of gas, oil, and coal has grown 5 times faster than wind and solar. The world is not eliminating the usage of fossil fuels. Rather, their usage is accelerating. But Michael Mann says he has a plan to get rid of fossil fuels by mid-century. Michael Mann's primary professional accomplishment is creating a fraudulent hockey stick graph and corrupting an entire field of science. He has no expertise or experience related to energy. Billions of people around the world depend on fossil fuels for their day-to-day survival. But Michael Mann is trying to get politicians to eliminate the energy sources which their countries need to survive. Michael Mann says we should listen to him about energy and not the companies which actually provide the energy which runs the world. And Greta Thunberg agrees with him. I doubt that any of these world leaders would allow either Michael Mann or Greta Thunberg to do brain surgery on them. Neither of them have any experience or skills at brain surgery, and they also have no experience or skills related to energy. So why would any sane world leader take their advice about energy when their countries need a reliable source of energy to survive? Michael Mann and Greta Thunberg's belief systems are based around a superstition that the type of energy used controls the weather. Let's take a look at a good example of where that superstition comes from. This is from the New York Times, August 23, 2021. The violent and deadly flooding in Germany and Belgium last month was an extremely rare event, scientists said Monday, but one that was made more likely by climate change. The scientists found that the record rainfall that led to the flooding, including a 24-hour total of 3.5 inches, was a 400-year event. And then in the next paragraph, they went on to blame the floods on emissions from the burning of fossil fuels. This is a typical New York Times article. They use a fake appeal to authority and fake statistics to draw a fake conclusion. They said a 24-hour total of 3.5 inches of rain in Germany was a 400-year event. But had they talked to any actual scientists, they would have known that isn't true. On May 25, 1920, Germany experienced world record rainfall. They had 5 inches of rain in 8 minutes. The intensity of that rainfall was 300 times higher than what happened last year, and the total was larger as well. Here's the water level from the 1920 flood, but as you can see, going back in time, they've had much larger floods. The biggest floods at this location occurred in 1501 and 1595 during the Little Ice Age. The New York Times claims that global warming created last year's flood, but the largest floods occurred when it was cold during the Little Ice Age. This New York Times article is fake news, junk science, and superstition. Floods in Germany are not unusual. They happened in 1909. They happened in 1883. In 1888, 100 villages were underwater. They had a devastating flood catastrophe in 1613. This chart shows floods in Germany going back to the year 1500. As you can see, they've had a lot of them. And the frequency of floods in Germany was higher in the past than it is now. Some politicians read the New York Times and believe the fake news they're printing. And then the New York Times accuses other sites of publishing fake news, which is the entire business model of the New York Times. They must not like competition. The German government believed the superstition relating energy usage to weather. 3 years ago, they made a decision to shut down all 84 of their coal-fired power plants. They also made a decision to shut down most of their natural gas production. They made a decision to shut down their nuclear power. They made a pledge to end foreign fossil fuel funding by the year 2022, hailed as a game changer. Earlier this year, they announced they were going to get 100% of their energy from renewable sources. They aimed to be the greenest government ever. Now they don't have enough energy prices are skyrocketing, and 1 in 6 Germans are facing severe poverty. They're facing a difficult autumn and tough winter. Energy bills are expected to soar in the next heating season, the Vice Chancellor says. And now the German government is planning winter warm-up spaces to protect the population from the disaster which the government created. Perhaps they should have taken their advice from people who know something about energy rather than clowns like Michael Mann and Greta Thunberg. And then there's the clowns at the International Energy Agency. They said the energy shortage, which is leading the world into poverty and possible war, is actually making the world more secure. And they found scant evidence to support claims that climate policies and net zero commitments contributed to the run-up in energy prices. So the International Energy Agency is taking the position that Germany shutting down their coal, oil, natural gas, and nuclear had nothing to do with the shortage of energy. Once again, this is propaganda, fake news, and junk science based on an appeal to authority. Nothing the International Energy Agency is saying makes any sense. But there's some good news out of Germany. They're firing up their coal plants again. Their Minister of Finance wants to start up fracking again. Last week it was announced that Green Germany is tearing down a wind farm to expand a coal mine. But despite the fact that they're expanding their coal production, they still say they're planning to phase out coal by the year 2030. That reminds me of a smoker who every year makes a commitment to stop smoking next year. World leaders should end their fossil fuel madness and stop listening to people like Greta Thunberg and Michael Mann. If they shut down their energy supply without anything to replace it, they're guaranteeing a disastrous future for their country. Toto thinks we live in exceptionally ridiculous times. You can visit him, Kyrie Caesar, Toki, and Upla on the web at realclimatescience.com.